to Orphan Black. Boom, boom. How scary is that? Episode 8. And there's no season 5 renewal just yet. Again, I may have to privately fund it myself. That is the problem I may have. It may take a few years, but I will get that season 5. So I am here to talk to you about episode 8, the redesign of natural objects. So, after last week's episode, I feel like they cannot ruin my emotions like they did last week was a wreck, man. So we start the episode with a shot of Donnie in jail, a place I never thought he'd be, but he is. And I like how Donnie thinks, because there's this guy who comes up to the table and Donnie's like, I think I've made a friend. Yes, I've made a friend in jail. And it is all a bit Orphan is the new black, if I must say so myself. And then this guy comes behind the other guy and being like, you know, I think this is the guy we're after. And he goes like this, and there's a knee illusion on his hand. And I'm just sort of like, they're everywhere. And he's like, I've got my eye on you, eye, ha 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 ha. And it's just like, is there nowhere there is not knee illusion? Sorry, there's a hair on the camera. Is there nowhere that is safe from knee illusion? I mean, they're in the hospitals, they're probably in the school system. They're in jail. And then we go to Rachel and she's talking about the vision of the swan, and I'm still like, oh, what is this swan business? And we hear that Susan has given up on Leader, which is what I thought in the last episode. And this new partnership between Ira and Rachel. It's an interesting idea, bit tenuous one, you know. And then we go to Cosima and Sarah. I'm like, that's it, Cosima, you come back from that dark side. Happy chirpy Cosima again, because nobody wants to repeat last week where you're putting this bot in your mouth. And I don't think anyone can get over the whole Delphine is technically, maybe, possibly, probably still alive. And then Kira's like, time to speak to Mika. And it's a bit like, Mika's like, well, Kira's really sweet. And it's like, everyone loves Kira. And then Mika's like saying sorry for being sort of like leaving them. Then Cosima comes in and she's like, you know, keep the mask on. Because she takes it off to see Sarah and she sort of like panics and puts it back on. And she's like, you can keep the mask on, I find it kind of funny. I'm like, and then I like this Mika's helping the clone come now. By showing the footage of Susan and Evie's chat over FaceTime or Skype. And showing that they said the self-aware clones will not get the same humane treat. Yeah, glad we all know about that one now. And I love how MK's like, you know, she needs their help. And I'm like, yeah right, Mika, you need help with this. And then they go and talk to Susan. She's setting up the meeting between them. Which, you know, after last time they met, could be quite interesting. And then Alison goes to visit Donnie in jail with Felix. And he's talking to her about Adele, how that's their lawyer now because they've got no money, their bank accounts are frozen. And Alison's like, is she really a lawyer? And he's like, you know, she's a lawyer, she was suspended for being inebriated in court. And it's weird because I don't want to say this, but I am slowly liking Adele. I'm slowly going over to that side of liking Adele. Like, she's somewhat less sketchy this week. Like, I mean, she could go back to being sketchy next week, but... And then Adele's a bit like, what? They look the same. But Alison. And then we turn to Alison being Sarah's twin sister. And Adele says, I thought my mum was losing it for a minute. And then she's like, you look just like her, except less angry and more hygiene. And then she's sort of saying she doesn't want anyone frisking Alison, being like, it's not as much fun as it sounds like. Word of warning from Adele. And then a little powwow between Susan Duncan, Charlotte, Alice, there's so many, Rachel, and Ira. I love it. And it's all really weird because it's kind of fraught because they all know now about, like, Charlotte knows she's dying pretty much. And Susan's telling Rachel to sort of take up a hobby because there's nothing more they can do really. And she says, perhaps I should take up carpentry and build us all coffins. Shall I start with the smallest first? It's all weird because Rachel, this is her way of accepting things, to sort of not go cold, but switch off the emotions in that sense. Like, she's not in the line of lying to Charlotte, if that makes sense. She wants Charlotte to know and have sort of the will to sort of fight against that. Like, be like, no, I'm not gonna let you tell me I'm dying. I'm going to fight for this cure, if that makes sense. And then we see Siobhan going and getting her shotgun, and it's all a bit like, what are you doing, Siobhan? Where are you going? And then the group chat. I love these group chats. There's a lot of group chats in this episode between Sarah, Susan, Cosima and Rachel. And they're sort of like discussing what's the next step, and sort of if they work on it and they work on it, they collaborate on it. And then Sarah's going to Mrs. S being like, what are you doing? And Cosima's yo to Rachel, and then Rachel's like, yo, and I'm like, yes, that's the scene we were all waiting for. And then we see Mrs. S, and she's loitering outside the police station, and guess who comes out? Marty Duco. Ooh, something tells me his days are numbered. And then we see Alison visiting Donnie in jail again. And Alison says to Donnie, they made you wear those horrible things, like the orange jumpsuits. I'm like, oh, I knew Alison could have a problem with the orange jumpsuits. And then we hear Jailhouse 101 with Adele. You know, that should be a new TV show. Jailhouse 101 with Adele. And that should be your theme tune. Like, it's just, yeah. And Sarah and Art, she meets up with Art, and they're going to stop Mrs. S. Duco's up parked his car. She's sort of spying on him, and she's got a gun trained on him, ready to take the shot. And Art's saying that it will make things worse. She can't kill a cop, which is technically true. It will make things worse, because then Evie will also know they are onto them. Not onto them, but sort of they are prepared for a fight, if that makes sense. And then we go back to Donnie and Alison, and Donnie's sort of, after getting rid of Adele, been like, honey, do you see that guy over there? And he's like, don't look, he's a nihilist, and he's here to keep an eye on me. And then Alison's like, oh, Donnie. And Donnie's like, Pico. And Alison's like, I can't Pico. And Alison realises that Duco is behind it all, and I'm like, yes, he's behind it all. We knew it from the start. He's the bad guy of the situation. And Alison, what does she go and do? When Mrs. S is about to take the shot, she meets with Duco to discuss why he's doing this to Donnie. And Donnie's like, well, they're not after her. And it also weaves in with, we hear Mrs. S telling Sarah she knows how Evie is going to get to them through Alison and Donnie. And we see Duke telling Alison his bosses don't want her. They'll leave her alone if she tells them where Sarah is. And it's like, and I guess it's kind of like not a moment of, like a moment of what should she do. She loves Donnie, like, for all their troubles and stuff, she loves Donnie, but then she also loves Sarah as much as she whinges about Sarah. They are sisters at the end of the day. And then we see sort of Alison after that and being like, oh, what should I do? And then she's all stressed, and then she drops her things because she's going to the church to practice her musical with Sarah Stubbs. And it's just, that is news to my ears. And then she swears for real in front of a priest, and it's a bit like, oh, Alison, only you could swear for the first time for real in front of a priest. And then we go back to Sarah and Mrs. S and Felix, and they're sort of like, they've got to keep an eye on Alison to make sure she doesn't drop a minute. And we see Felix standing up for Alison, and that's sort of something I really like. Like, Alison is part of the family in that sense. And then we see Felix going, because Alison rings Felix up and being like, can you come to the church, you know? And like I said, I love their relationship. It's just lovely. And then we see Cosima and Susan. I think maybe Scott, wasn't it? My notes have been a bit scatty this one, so I don't know where I'm going. Talking about they don't have the DNA, but they did get like cells from Kira, but because her father, Cal's genetics have sort of taken it away from the pure leader that they need. So the idea is they're gonna get a caster sperm and a leader egg, you know, make that, and they've got the Scott's realization when he's like, where are we gonna get the egg from? And then he's like, oh yeah, I know where we're gonna get it from. And then we see Sarah and Siobhan sort of saying like, you know, if it looks like she's gonna drop us in it, you know, you need to tell us. And I'm like, don't cut and run. Just, this is not the time for it. And then we see MK. And again, and I love MK. I love MK in the similar vein that I love Cosima. I love MK because she's so clever and she's so cool. And that's why I like Cosima, because she's so cool and she's so clever. And almost like because people just judge people on sort of like their looks, whereas she's got the brains and she's pretty. Like MK, she's got the brains, she is pretty, do you know what I mean? Like, she doesn't rely on her prettiness, or like her face. She's actually got a, do you know what I mean? Like, she could give anyone a run for their money. Same with Cosima. And she's sort of saying that she's been digging on Duco, and that he's been receiving money paid by Brightbourne Shell, an island in the Caribbean, and that she's saying to Sarah, he's dangerous, you know, be careful, and thanking her for letting her back in, which I thought. And then we see the bombshell, because earlier in the episode she asks Cosima how she's feeling, and we realise sort of almost like why she asked it now. Not that she didn't want to know because she's interested, but she's sick too. She coughs in her hand and there's blood, and I'm like, come on now. First Cosima, now MK, why are you trying to kill off all the clever ones? Like, no. I had to breathe from here and be like, oh, I need that cure now. First Cosima, now MK. I don't know whether I could cope. And I love how Sarah, as she gets off the phone to MK, is like, what we don't know about MK could fill a library. And I think that's why she's come back in a sense, because she's sick and she realises, like, she doesn't want to be on her own, but she needs her sisters because she is sick, if that makes sense. And then we see Rachel, who's seeing the swan again, but not just the swan. We see a man who looks a bit nerdy, and I've heard other theories that sort of go along with this, that is it the man, that man of the book, the Percival Morland, like author of the New Illusion book? Like, oh, this is going into territory I don't know what to call it, and it's just like mind blown, and I actually don't know what's going on, like what the actual fudge. And then there's a sort of brighter note to that bit. We see Alison and Sarah Stubbs doing a rehearsal for their show. And I'm like, oh yes. But we also see her looking in a makeup case, and she sees the bottle of alcohol that she had last performance-wise after Ainsley's death, or Ainsley's murder, because of her unfortunate death due to a sink incinerator. It's all a bit like, Alison, don't go down that path again. And thankfully Felix comes in at that time being like, let's chat. And he's like, how are you doing? And it's all a bit like, how do you think she's doing? Her husband's in jail. She's been threatened by a dirty copper to kill him in jail if she doesn't turn over her sister. How do you think she's doing? And then he sort of says her sisters are there for her. Sarah's there for her. Which is kind of true because, no, it's kind of true, it is true. Sarah has helped Alison a lot. Almost like Beth has, if that makes sense. She goes to meet Duco in the church bit of the centre, community centre. And he gives Alison the phone saying there's someone who wants to talk to her, and that someone is Donnie. And he says the Neo guy, the Neolution guy, is in Donnie's cell with a shank made out of a toothbrush, saying if she doesn't tell them what they need to know, where Sarah is, they going to stick it in his brain through his eye. And in a sense, not I think Alison would sell Sarah out, but you can see the sort of the real deliberation in her eyes. That sort of, should she do? She loves Donnie, but she cares for Sarah at the same time. It's sort of like, and also because I don't think they would stop at Sarah. And I think maybe she knows that. Maybe once they've got Sarah, she knows they wouldn't stop at harming everyone else because they are self-aware at the same time. And they know that. And the musical interlude while Donnie's getting beat up, though, is very funny. And it's almost like when he gets arrested last week and that children's music song is on. It's just like so funny. But not funny at the same time. And she says to Duco that Sarah will be at a comic shop. Oh, what are you doing, Alison? What are you doing, Alison? What are you doing, Alison? And then we see Duco parked outside the comic shop, Rabbit Hole comic shop, waiting for Sarah. And we still see Donnie getting beaten up and the musical interlude. And oh god dear, no, Sarah is walking into the rabbit hole. I repeat, Sarah is walking into the rabbit hole and Duco can see her. So then he goes into the rabbit hole and Hell Wizard is there. And he says to him, because they're talking about Dungeons and Dragons, saying you'd have to be a real smart player to survive. And it's almost like a reference to this show. Like, you do have to be a smart player to survive. You sort of have to outwit everyone else. Like, Evie's outwitted everybody at the minute, but who will be the next one to outwit everyone? I think that may be Rachel. And then he slams Hell Wizard's face into the cash register, and I'm all a bit like, no hurty Hell Wizard. Like, seriously, no hurting Hell Wizard. There's no hurting Hell Wizard or Scott. Please, God, no. And then Vaughn comes out and she goes, well, he's smarter than you. And I'm like, yes, you're Vaughn. Yes, you trap him. And then there's Art being like, Duco, don't you dare. Under coercion, get Duco to ring the cell person, the Neolutionist guy, being like, you know, don't hurt Donnie, leave him alone. And Donnie is safe. Yes, that's another one we don't hurt. We don't hurt Donnie. Donnie is great. I love Donnie. Yes. yes, I love Donnie. It's like, and I love how Sarah's like, and then we see Felix get texted by Sarah being like, you know, Donnie's safe, tell Alison. And he's like, she's alright. And it's like, the musical goes into full swing and I'm like, yes, I need a full musical of this, not just one rehearsal. I need a full musical. We see Duco and Mrs. S is questioning him, being like, what is Evie's next move? You know, what is Evie's end goal? And we also see Mrs. S being like to Art and Sarah, you know, you should leave now, it's my time now. And Duco's like, you know, we're both coppers, we both crossed the line. And Art's been like, I crossed the line for Beth. Been like, he didn't cross it to do bad things, he crossed it to help someone. And then Mrs. S is like, show me a scenario where Evie Cho doesn't come after my family. And I'm like, yes, Mrs. S, you protect your family. Duco's like, Evie doesn't like clones. I'm like, that's bleeding obvious, we all know that. Saying, but that she's also scared that Sarah and all the others will destroy her life's work, because she's finally got, now that it's all coming together, that she's got the approval for her bot treatment labelled as gene therapy, which will go to millions of people. And saying that he doesn't know, that's because like Siobhan's like, what is she really doing? What is her end goal at this? And he's like, I don't know, this is not my end of things. We see that Siobhan gets a shotgun and she's gonna kill him. She's gonna kill him in revenge of her mother. And he says, I'll work for you, but I don't think that would have worked, because he's too much of a loose cannon, if that makes sense. How was anyone meant to trust him without sort of worrying that all the while he's helping us, he's going back to Evie and being like, this is what they're doing. How do I stop them? How do I get them to you? We see Mrs. S telling him they know about him, saying, and this is why he's dangerous, saying every case with Brightborn connections, he was the leading investigator. And I just like to say, I told you he was a corrupt cop. Just saying, I knew he was a dirty copper all along. Saying that in all these cases, subjects were murdered and witnesses disappeared. Yeah. And then Duco starts saying that they threatened his family and he has a niece who he's trying to protect with all this money. And it's sort of like, do I believe Duco when he says his family has been threatened and he's only trying to protect them? Kind of. It's almost like I believe it's in like Eutro and the Illusion's power to do that. Then he says, and then it's about family. He's like, you know, you get that. And then it's almost like, more than you know, does she get it? And then it's almost like this love, it's not a lovely scene because she shoots him, but it's a very poignant moment for Siobhan, where she's like, this is for my ma. And then she shoots him. Because at the end of the day, he was the one who shot Kendall. As much as Siobhan had a fraught relationship with her mother, she loved her mother. And that, if anything she did, that was going to be the thing she did. She would get revenge for her mother. And that's sort of like, I know Art could have been the one that shot him, but in the sense, I think that would have had too many repercussions on Art and his career. In a sense, I don't think it was in Art's person to kill him as much as he wanted to for Beth and for Kendall, whereas Mrs. S does, like Siobhan does. And it's almost like a, yes, he's gone. And then we cut to the next day and Scott's cleaning all the blood, and it's always Scott cleaning up the blood, and Scott's always loved doing the cleaning. And then we see him talking to Sarah, being like, you know, Cosima's downstairs, this is big news, what she's got. And then Cosima's downstairs with suitcases, and I'm a bit like, where are you going, Cosima? And she's saying that this is the breakthrough they've been waiting for, that Cosima is going to go to the island of Dr. Moreau with Susan, because they have the better capabilities to be able to test out the egg and the sperm theory. And then we see Rachel learn that Cosima's going to be coming there, and Rachel's little dig at Ira, being like, I bet you're excited about your contribution, aren't you? And I think this is where we see Rachel and Susan's plans differ. Rachel wants to take down Evie. She wants to put Susan back on top of the illusion. And Susan wants to create the cure and cure all the clones. But do I think both of their plans are, that they've been completely honest with both their plans? Not entirely. Like, I think they both have their own goals. I'm not sure. I just don't see Susan's plan of, we'll make the cure, as simple as that, if that makes sense. And then we see Rachel see the swan again, but this time it's decapitated. Like, what? What the actual fudge does that mean? What does that mean? What does that mean? And then we see Cosima in the helicopter, and her face of excitement was just like, oh, Cosima. And she's talking to Scott, and he's like, do you realise how insane you are to be going to a mad scientist's island on your own? And Cosima's saying, like, We are mad scientists soon. So we're here. And in that moment, I love how we see how Scott cares for Cosima. He only wants her well-being and her safety. Do you think this is gonna work? Do you think we're gonna get the cure? Especially now that MK is sick as well. And Cosima's like, yeah, we will. And I just sort of, I hope she's right. I hope they do find the cure, because not just Cosima now. Not that they know MK's sick, but it isn't just Cosima now. It's Charlotte, it's Cosima, it's MK. You know, it's more than one person now. But yeah. Also, on an additional note, I don't know if any of you saw the trailer. I did. And guess who's back next week? Guess who's back next week? Elena is back, and I feel like doing giddy little waves, because I'm like, she's back. She's back. That is what I wanted. These past few episodes is Elena to be back. Like, I've missed Elena. That was episode 8. The redesign of natural objects. I really enjoyed that episode. I enjoyed it in a different way that I enjoyed the last few episodes. I feel like the last few episodes have been very boom 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 action, whereas now it's almost like they're tying up little ends, because there is only 2 episodes left, and then hopefully season 5 where it's all gonna go off again. Yeah, I really enjoyed it. Especially the musical. I really need a full musical of that, please. But also, I don't know where it's gonna go now, because, but again, as long as Cosima, Sarah, Rachel, Alison, MK, Cosima, and Helena, and Crystal, all the clones are safe, I'm happy, and as long as Scott and Hell Wizard and Donnie, and Mrs. S and Kira and Felix are alright, that is fine. Kill off anybody else. As long as... But yeah, I hope you enjoyed it. I have also, because I have plenty of time on my hands, made a playlist of my videos and lots of other Orphan Black videos. But yeah, I apologise for my family's noise. Seriously, they don't know when to be quiet. So this should be up when Friday. I have a blog post going up on Wednesday, free promo. I have a video going up on Wednesday, because I missed the last Wednesday's video because it was all going pear-shaped and I just couldn't do it. I cannot believe we are 2 episodes left of this season. Like I said, this season just is probably one of its best. I mean, this season and season 1 are probably the best seasons. I mean, not saying that I didn't like season 3 or that I didn't like season 2, but I feel like season 1 was really good because it was the start and it just sort of, it had that air to it where it, like, freshness, and now it's sort of got that mystery freshness back. Not that I didn't like season 2 or season 3. But yeah, again, we need a renewal for season 5. I'm waiting for that. Otherwise, self-funding, I will set up my own GoFundMe. Can't promise it'll be very quick, but I'll get there eventually. You know, should I just start saving now? Might be good. Just in case it breaks my little heart, but they haven't. But that's not gonna happen, is it? If you would like this, comment on this. Any Orphan Blackness, you know. Who's your favourite clone? Who's your least favourite clone? Is that possible to even answer? Who's your favourite clone? Who's your worst clone? I know I can't answer the who's my favourite, and I know I can't answer who's my worst, to be honest. Yeah, share this because Orphan Black deserves much more acknowledgement than it gets. Like, apparently Tatiana Maslany is on the shortlist for Emmy nominations this year, or something like that. I'm not sure how it works. But seriously, she needs an Emmy. She needs all the awards. Like, they all need all the awards because this is Rolling Stones voted it number 11 on some of the best sci-fi shows. Yeah, thanks for watching. No cats again, because again, it's middle of the day. They don't come out during the middle of the day. Sorry about this annoying shirt, so if you see me go like this the whole time, I apologise. Thanks for watching. Bye!